Welcome back to the second part of me building this Scania R470, the Tamiya kit. What we did on the last video was me just unboxing and having a look, you know, what was inside the box, so I could see what I got ahead of me. Like I said in the last vlog, I haven't made one of these before. I haven't built one, so this is all quite new to me. And RC vehicles, although I explained that I have got an RC vehicle and an RC vehicle group, my RC background really is with flying planes. So I've had to make a choice of controller that I'm going to be using, because I had a choice of, this is reasonably new, Spectrum NX8, and don't forget I use these for my flying planes. So I've put the Spectrum NX8 to one side because I'm not going to be using that. That's got most of my planes on. However, I do have a Radio Master, the TX16S, which I've had for a few years, and it's quite a good radio because you can use a variant of different makes of receivers. It's what they call multi-protocol, so you can use other people's receivers. And if you're not sure what a receiver is, I'll just pop me here. I'll tell you what, I'll just leave that there so you can see that in shot as well. But a receiver is where the signal goes from the transmitter to the vehicle, or a plane, or an helicopter, or a boat, or whatever it is. So the signal that you put in to your radio then goes to the vehicle, and then it's something like these that pick up that signal, and then you have a cable coming out going to generally to servos. You can have other things that you go to, like the motor as well, which I'll explain about the motor shortly. And that will plug into the receiver, and then once you give the command from the transmitter, it goes to the receiver and then translates that to moving the servos. So I've got three to choose from. I've actually got quite a few others, but I've decided I'm going to look at these three. This is a Radio Master one. I'm not sure if these are still a bit difficult to get hold of, because when I got my Radio Master, I got a couple of these. However, I don't use them anymore. But I know they got quite rare, and I think they stopped making. There was something going on about these transmitters. I'm not sure what it is. It's a R168 Radio Master, but still works fine. And if you think I'm using them for planes, it's not such a worry when you're using it in a vehicle on the ground. If you're using it in a plane, it's got to be correct, because if anything goes wrong, it's over. There's no coming back from it. But if you're in a vehicle on the ground, it's not such a problem. So, and the other one that I was looking to use was I think they say Fry Sky. I'm not sure is that one, but I've decided against that one, and I'm actually going to go for a Spectrum. Now, please tell me in the comments if any reason why you don't think this is going to be suitable for a vehicle other than a plane. Please let me know, because like I say, I'm reasonably new, especially at building radio vehicles. So that's the one I'm going to go for. It's made for a plane, but it does exactly the same, so I can't see why I can't use that. However, this comes with what they call a satellite, and what this satellite does when it's in a plane, you may have the receiver sat like that, So you got your aerials going that way, and so you can get a good quality signal and receiving. Then you put your satellite on the side of the plane or wherever you want it, so it's in the opposite direction to these two antennas there. So you've got then those two antennas facing the opposite way, so that signal, which goes in like loops, I believe, that gives it a much better chance of being picked up. It all comes a bit more complicated as you get further away, but you don't have that problem really with vehicles, because you're never going to be that far away from them, because obviously you need to see, I know you need to see a plane, but once it's up in the air you can go some quite distance away. But when you're using a vehicle, you're not going to be going anywhere near as far as a vehicle, unless you're using FPV and you're using it for that reason. You want to go a distance, then yes, you can set it up for that. But that's not what I'm setting it up for. So what I'm getting to is I'm going to be removing the satellite, because I don't believe there's any need for me to use that in the vehicle. So that will come out, and that's just going to be the receiver that will go in to the vehicle, and that alone. Where it's going to go in the vehicle, I'm not sure where it's supposed to go. If there's a place where they go, I don't know until I've built it, or it's been explained to me in the instructions. So I'm going for the Spectrum receiver. I've actually already bound it, so it's already bound to my radio. And what I'll do, I'll just flash that up so you can see. I'll turn it on.
Welcome to OpenTX.
That's it, it's opened. I've just put it as a model, as a Scania. I've got to try and work out the controls, what the controls are going to be, which can be all be adjusted once, you know, it's all set up. I can adjust it. You can change the speed of the steering, the speed of the throttle. You can do all that kind of stuff inside the radio once it's installed. But what I'm going to do is just pop this battery in just to power this up, which I'll make sure I get it the right way around. I think it's that way, or is it the other way? That's it. No, I think I've got it the wrong way. There we go. That's now powered up, and if I put a servo, one of these, into the receiver, I've got to make sure I get this the right way up, and I need to put it in what's called the ailerons on the plane. So when I use the steering stick, which will be the one on the right for me, that's another thing you can do. You can change the controls around to wherever you want them. So that should turn when I push this left or right, then that servo there should operate. So if I put that up there, so I think you can see that like that. And you see the servo move as I move the stick. So there'll be a connecting rod to the steering somehow. I'll find that out once it's all installed, how that's going to work. That will turn, and then obviously that will push a rod that will turn the steering left or right, and that will become your steering. Also, that's going to go in there, I think it is for changing the gears, because there's 3 gears in there. Now I've no idea how that works. That's something I'm going to have to learn. I've never done that before, so I think that's what the second servo's for. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it is. Thinking it logically, I think it is, but I may be wrong. We'll soon find out. So that will also go into the receiver as well, which will make that work. I'm just going to unplug that, take the power out, just power that off. And what I've got, I saw in the group on Facebook, somebody was asking what servos to use, and somebody said the Futaba S3003s are, you know, good to use in that vehicle. Luckily enough, I got a box full of old servos, and lo and behold, I got two of exactly what they suggested, so hopefully they'll work. They are old ones, but they work. Again, because it's in a vehicle on the floor, I don't have to worry about it failing so much. Okay, it might fail and lock the steering, but I should be able to turn the power off, and at the end of the day it's going to bump into a wall. Not that I want it to, but you're not as what's the word, in fear of it smashing like a plane. If you lose control or the servo goes bad, the plane's going to crash, and like I said before, generally there's no coming back from it. But with the vehicle on the ground, the risk is not so high. So a couple of old ones, and they both work. I can't see anything going wrong with those. So those are the two servos I'm going to choose. That's going to save me money from buying some new ones. I did think about buying some really nice Gucci new ones, but why when I've got two that I'll do the job? It don't make sense, does it? It's just wasted money. So I've got those two, and what I'm going to do today is the first part. I thought it was building the gearbox up. I think I was looking at the wrong video, but it's not. It's actually starting to get the servos ready, putting on the service control arms and things like that. These ones will have to come off and new ones go on, and I'll need to get these centered, and that's what I've got here is a little servo tester, so I can test the servos, which I've done, but I haven't centered them. I need to center them before I start using them. But I'll tell you what I'll do before I start. I'm going to take these old arms off. Now, this one hasn't got a screw on to hold it, so it should just pop off like that. Just take them off. So I won't need to use those, but this one's screwed on. So I'm going to get to use my new electric screwdriver for the first time. Let's take that out. I'm going to use the long one, the long reach bit. Let me put that on. That's on number 5 because we're coming out and not going in, so that's not so bad. Oh, there we go. There we go, and out it comes. And I dropped it on the floor, but pop that off. There you go, that's that done. I'll quickly see if I can find it. No, I'll tell you what, I'm going to get these centered first. What I need to do is power up this this servo tester. Put that in there, just make sure I get these the right way around. And this is a servo tester. I'll tell you what, I'll just put that arm back on so you can see it move. So now I've powered that up and it's a tester. I can now move that by just turning that control knob there, and you can test it. You can also put it onto, that's just centered it, but you can test your servos like that. You can see the movement. I put it back there, that's manual, and then if I press it again it'll center it like that. That now is centered, so I can pop that back off. In fact, I think I just knocked it. Let me just recenter it. I did. That's it, it's centered. I'll take that off. That one's centered. Now I need to just center this one. Just make sure I get it the right way around. I think I put it around the wrong way. Yeah, that's all working, and then that's it, centered, and that one's ready now to use. So let's pop down to the workshop and have a look what I've got down there. So yeah, I'm down the workshop, and this is what I've come to show you, which hopefully is going to be helpful in me building this model. So it is a spray booth, the Expo AB510. Now, I've never had a spray booth before, and I haven't purposely purchased it for this model. It's for future projects as well. So what happened was, I was in town, my local town, not too far away, and I popped into I don't know if it was cash converters, because I like to go and have a look and see what's for sale. And I spotted this on the top shelf and thought that could be quite useful, because I wanted one in the past. But that day I went away, and overnight I thought about it. The next day I went back and got it, because it actually looks brand new, looks like it's never been used, and it was half the price of buying a brand new one. So I thought, I'm going to take the plunge. But I thought I'd show you, because I think later in this series of me building this this truck up, this Scania, it might come useful, and it might come part of the video of me spraying. Now, I've tried spraying before, and I'm usually rubbish at it, but if you don't do it, you don't learn. So I'll give it a go, I think, with this model, because it might be useful for future projects. However, I do have an airbrush, but it's not the best of airbrushes, and I think that's what put me off in the past. So for the Scania model I'm doing, I'm going to be using Tamiya spray paints, and take it from there, kind of thing. If I'll show you the manual, and then if I'll show you that's exactly what it is. And if I just show you that, you can pause it and have a read. If it's something that you're looking for, it may be of interest to yourselves. If you think it's something that could be useful for yourselves, and you'll be able to go out and source one. Anyway, so yeah, it's all electric. It was all tested, because they have to do test these things. And it was tested on the 12th of the 10th. So it's all tested, electrically tested, although it comes from a power block, which is there. It's going to be, I think, what we call a class 2. So it should be double insulated anyway, and low voltage and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so what you get the filter at the back. That comes out. I haven't taken it out yet, but this padding comes out. I'm guessing you can change these after a period of time. So obviously, with it sucking paint through, eventually it's going to get blocked up. I don't know if you can wash them. Maybe you can wash them. That's something I need to research, because like I said, I've never had a spray booth before. The little turntable came with it, which just literally sits on there, and you can pop something on there. I'll tell you what, before I show you that, let's turn the lights on so it brightens it up a bit. We've got two control switches at the back here. That one's the light, that's the fan, but we'll start with the light. And when you turn it on, I'll turn it on now, it goes to the eye setting, because that's the eye setting. And then if you turn it, I can show you, it will turn it down, but that's the lowest setting. Let me turn it back up right to the top, and like I say, when you turn it on, it goes to the eye setting straight away. So that's it. But I'll just put that little truck there just as an example so you can see, and then what you do is just spin them round and do your spraying, what you need to do. So I think it could come very useful. So anyway, that's what it looks like. If I'll pan back a little bit, that's what it looks like with the light on. And then what I'll do is turn the fan on, Hopefully it's not too noisy and you can still hear me, although in real time, in real life, not on the camera and the mics, it's not that loud, but the mic may make it sound just a little bit more noisy than you think it is. So let's turn it on. And there you go, that's the fan on. And again, the same as the light, when you turn it on, it's turned on at the full setting, and then you can just turn it down, and I'll put it to the low setting. I don't know if the mic's picking that up. It's really, really low, and what I'll do is I'll go back up to full setting. And what I've done, I've got a paper towel, and you can see straight away it's trying to suck that paper towel in, and if I put it there like that, you can see it sticking to the back like that. I'll just pop that back out, and then obviously your fumes and your paint particles will then get sucked to the back, and it goes out through the tube that you vent out of the window, just like that one there. Let me just turn the fan off again. There you go. And that's what it looks like. And actually this all folds down for when you want to store it. I actually purchased it built up, and I carried it out the shop like this, so I haven't actually folded it up yet, but I'm looking on YouTube. These panels come off and then fold up, and it can be folded down flat for when you want to store it. So that's the extractor I've got for my paint spraying. I just thought I'd pop down to the workshop and show you. And I guess, shall we get back up in the house and shall we start this build? Okay, I think I've got what I need out the bag for the first part, which is starting to get the servos ready. What I can make out, the instructions are a little bit vague, but I've worked out that I need E parts, which is, this is E. That's what I've worked out. I can't see where it tells you, unless I've missed it, that you need that tree other than the parts are marked E. I can see this is E and then numbered, and I can see E, like that's E1, and I can see E1 on there. So that's what I'm going with. So I'm just going to look what I need, get this open, get the screws and any nuts I need, which are down there, so I can check the size next to them to make sure I get the right one, and we'll start putting it together. So I'll get these open, get the bits out, and start rocking and rolling. Well folks, this part of the video I've actually jumped forward quite a bit. The battery in my overhead camera up there had died, and I lost a lot of footage of me building the first part, and I've actually carried on and gone into the, well, a second part. It's like I've gone into 2 days. This is a third day of building, although it's only an hour or two that I was doing. So what I'll do in this part of the video, I'll bring you up to speed where I am and where I left the part where the camera died, so you can understand what was happening there. So this is where I am at the moment. If the hopefully the overhead camera can see that. I'm just checking because I've got my camera down, the screen down there. I can see, yep, that's all lined up. Okay, so what I was doing at the beginning was actually making the housing for the servos. So you've got the one servo there, that's the steering servo, which has been mounted to the frame. The second servo is in there and mounted in there, and what I was doing was starting to build these mounts up that connect to the frame when I lost the camera. So that's where I was. What I've done since also is I've built the leaf springs and put them in place. The shocks are on, the steering's on, and this servo I believe is going to be I think it's the gear change. I'm not sure yet. I've not looked forward. I'm just going with the flow. I'm just going with the flow of the instructions, and I'll find out what everything's for as I'll get further into the instructions. So this is, I'm going to have a rough guess. This is after about 4 hours, 5 hours of building. This is where I am. I had to build the diff as well, and there's gears and stuff in there. So the diff operates correctly. Obviously, I don't think you'll see this on the camera, but when that turns, the wheels will turn, but they can turn independently, so one can go left and one can go right, kind of thing. So the diff is working, all that's working fine. And again, the leaf springs are on the back there as well, and the shocks, you might be able to see them working there, and the shocks are on. You can buy oil filled shocks as well. These are only spring loaded. That's something I might look at in the future. I'm not sure. I don't know whether it'd be beneficial to get them. It's always nice to upgrade, isn't it? And it makes you feel better, but does it actually do anything? If it does, then maybe that's something I will look at in the future, but we'll see. But yeah, there's about 5 hours or so of building, which has been enjoyable. Frustrating at times because I'm new to Tamiya. You've got to get used to the way they explain stuff in the manual. And then the next thing I'm going to be talking about is something that kind of threw me a little bit, and I started asking questions on the Facebook group, because these, the guys in the Facebook group, I guess I've been doing it a long time, so the best place to go is go and ask some questions, because if you don't ask, you don't find out, and you don't know. So let me just pop that there, and I'll show you where I've got to. And I've actually stopped for a couple of days while I've been thinking this through in my head, is the actual gearbox. And this is where I've got to. I've had to build this. This is all going to be part of the gearbox. So the gears change. I'm sure that's what the servo's for, but I'm not sure yet. We'll find out. Is it an automatic gearbox? Will it change gear automatic? I don't know. We will see. But all this has been made up, which is just one small part of it. This is going to be the gearbox housing eventually, in the frame where it all goes in. And that's where I've got to. That is part that's had to be built up. All this has got to be greased, but I don't want to put any grease on it just yet until it's all going to go together, because while I'm handling it, I'm going to be getting grease everywhere. So the best time is going to be to grease it once it's all together. Well, that's what I think. Although it tells you to grease it as you go along, I'm thinking while I'm building, I'm going to get my fingers on the grease. I'm going to get grease everywhere. So I'm going to try and grease it later when it's all built, if I can. If it's somewhere I need to grease and I've got to put something on the top of it, then obviously I will do that. And I have actually made one mistake. I've got to take it apart and just put a bit of grease on, because I didn't realise. And this is the next section I'm going to go to and explain the situation I found myself in a couple of days ago when I had to go and ask some questions. And it's this part. I'll just see if you can see that. Yeah, it's I'll tell you what, let me put the light on it. Does that light? Yeah, that might be a bit better for the camera while it's there. And the issue is, now let me just take this off. The part I've got to take off is this again, because a bit of grease has got to go under there and I haven't put any on. So I just got to take that clip off, take it, and then just put a bit of grease on and put it all back together again, which will take a couple of minutes. That shouldn't be a problem. But the issue is with this section. Although I think I've explained that I brought the upgraded bearings. The part in the instructions for this section is you're not to use ball bearings, the upgraded bearings, and use the bush. I'll explain them as bush type bearings. They're just a solid piece of brass, and if you'll see they come out. There's one come out, and then the other one's on its way out, although I've got to get it out in a minute and explain why. But that is the bearings that come, and the upgraded bearings obviously look like that. Proper bearings. There's ball bearings inside there. But in this section it explains in the instructions not to use the upgraded bearings, and this is the reason why, which kind of makes sense. And the issue I had, it tells you to glue these bearings in place. And my question was, because you don't get supplied the glue, my question in the group was, what type of glue do you use? In the instructions it shows you a picture of, you can probably see that there from the overhead camera. That is a picture of the glue, and I don't know if you can see the shaded out part. That's for grease, so we don't get them mixed up. And it's explained that it's called instant cement. Anyway, when you go on the internet and you Google Tamiya instant cement, it comes back as CA, and CA is super glue. So the question I asked in the group was, what super glue do you use? Or I found some super glue, which is that stuff from Amazon, because for a similar size of Tamiya glue, I think it was something like 15 to 20 pound. I brought, I think it's 5 or 6 tubes of that for £5. And at the end of the day, CA glue is super glue. However, there are different grades of super glue, so this was kind of the question I was asking. And it is a gel based one. It's not like a liquid, it's more of a gel, which makes sense because when you put it on the bearing and put the bearing, you don't want it running everywhere. So it makes sense for it to be a gel, so it kind of stays in place while it sets. And then the replies that I've got on Facebook on the Tamiya group was that I shouldn't be gluing bearings in anywhere. So that kind of got me confused, and I'm asking the question, why shouldn't I be doing it when the instructions I've been doing it? People have said they've been doing these for years, they've never glued any bearings in. Somebody said they've done the same truck, they've never used glue and it works fine, etc, etc. So I was getting confused. So also I'm going to note as well, some people says we'll use a thread lock grade of thread lock. However, it comes to light that thread lock is corrosive to plastic, and obviously these have got to go into a plastic section. So with all this information, I've had to go away, and I've left it for a couple of days where I've thought it all over. And let me just explain the reason why it needs to be glued. If I can put this bearing, and you can see how easy that bearing come out. Okay, that one's taking a little bit to come out, but it will eventually come out, and it's got to come out because I've got to put some glue on. Oh, there you go. It just popped out there. You can see that they're not tight in there. Let me just pop it back in because I want to show you the reason why it's got to be glued in. You've got to get it level or it won't go in. Come on, there you go. Right, so it fits onto this shaft, and those prongs on this gear actually go into this gear there, and that bearing's coming out already, look. So it fits in there. So obviously when that one turns, or vice versa, that one turns, the other one turns as well. However, I think it changes gear. As you can see, I might be able to see that bearing's coming out already. Look, and I haven't really done anything. I'll just push it back in. What happens is, I think this thrusts out, and while it can still be connected to there, because the clip's got to go there, it can't go any further than that, but it will move in and out like that. I hope that makes sense. So that movement over time is going to make those bearings come out, and as you can see, I don't know if you can see, the back one is coming out now, and the front one. So it makes sense that they have to be glued into position. Let me just put this other light on. This might make it a little bit better for the camera. I think that's a bit better. Yeah, so that's the reason why this needs to be glued in. And to the defense of people on Facebook, maybe they didn't quite understand what was being glued. Maybe I didn't explain it right, or explain it clearly, I should say. So that is the reason why it needs to be glued. So after a couple of days of thought, I'm going to glue them in with the glue that I've purchased. That's the outcome. Now, I used that glue to fix my light that's shining down here. These lights are magnets, so I can just pull them off like that. And they were just cheap, but they're effective and they do the job. But the magnets failed. It come out the housing on the back, and the light dropped on the table. So this glue had just arrived, so I thought I'll give it a try and try it on there, and it's worked perfect, which I expected it to. And I've just shut my page now where I am. Oh, that's where I am. I just want to move that out of the way, because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to glue the bearings into place. So, and I think what I'm going to do, that one don't want to, oh there you go, it's come out. And just let me explain the reason why I think it says not to use the ball bearings is those bearings are designed to go round and round, not side to side as well. So I think that's probably the reason why they're not saying use those bearings. So that's why I'm not going to use it. I think what I'm going to do is actually put the glue inside, because when you try and handle it and you put spots of glue on there, I'm going to get it on my fingers. But if I put it on the inside, I can use the tweezers and then just drop the bearing in, because I don't want to get glue all over my fingers. So let's do that now, shall we? I want to make sure I don't get too much glue on there as well. And I've squeezed the tube, so that means it's going to start to come out. There it comes, look. So what I'm going to do is just put a blob there. Yeah. More of like a gel. Just try not to get too much, and just a blob here and there. There we go. Now let me get the first bearing, drop it on there. Whoop. There we go. Just push it in. There you go. Just a bit of glue on there. Just take that off. That's it. That's the first one in. Just a bit of glue on there. That's the first one in place. Now just to put a blob there, blob there, a blob there, a blob there. Right, just put the top quickly back on there. Get this bearing. Push that in. Just wipe that bit of glue off there. stick my fingers together. And what I'm going to do is give that half an hour or so before I start installing it on. Just make sure all that glue is dried. It is super glue after all, and it'll dry really quick, but give it 30 minutes before I start installing it. And that's where I've got to. And hopefully that resolves the problem, and I can now crack on with the build. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to take off this clip, just move this out, which has got the new bearings in on this one, and then I'm just going to put a drop of grease. I'm just going to move my glue out the way because I don't want to get that mixed up with my grease. That'd be a disaster, wouldn't it? So I've got to get that circlip, what I call a circlip, off. There we go. It's off. So I'm just going to pop that off, and you see those bearings come out. However, the clips and the spacer there stop them from coming out. So you don't need glue on those ones. So I'll just need to move that to one side. Just get a slightest bit of grease on there, it doesn't need a lot. And this is ceramic grease that gets supplied with the kit. Just wanna, just the slightest bit. Just try and smooth that round. That was a big blob, well, a biggish blob that come out. There you go. Just so you can see, was a bit more than I expected, but that should do the job. Just pop that back down like that, and just put the top on my grease. That's it, and just spin it round so that grease goes all the way around. And now I shall put this clip back on. Yeah, because all the other parts, unless I come to it, I can see after it's built, and I can put the grease on then. Because you imagine doing all this with grease on, you have grease everywhere on your fingers, and you're trying to build. So just pop that there. And I need to just put that on there, and there, we're back on again. So yeah, you do miss bits and you have to go back. You might have made a mistake, which I do quite often. That's me, but that's what you learn from. And hopefully when I do, because I will do another Tamiya build, I don't know if it'll be a car or another truck, because it's all about the building for me. I enjoy this. It's filling my time in, and it keeps your mind ticking over. So that just move that there. Right. So what I'll do, like I said, I'll come back shortly. I'm just going to let that set for 30 minutes. I'm going to go and grab myself a cup of tea just to make sure that glue's gone off, which is probably gone off after a few minutes, but just to be on the safe side. And that's it. That's all it was just the glue, that bearing, and all they are is like a brass thick washer, and that is all the bearings you get supplied for other places. But that's why I've upgraded to the new ones, which, to be fair, the ones that are supplied I think for the amount of use that vehicle's going to move, those bearings are fine. But it's nice to think you've upgraded, and yes, it probably does help a little bit. So you get that nice feeling you've done something, made it a little bit better. That's how I feel anyway. So I'll see you in a moment, and I'll go and grab myself a cup of tea.